Hello, folks. It's Progress Report time because it's Wednesday at 7 o'clock, as it has been, Mike, for how many years? 12?
12 years done. We're in our
12
13th year, the lucky year.
Jeez, I can't believe it.
Bob, you look younger than when we started the show.
Yeah, right.
You do. You're looking great. You're looking great. Do you remember my full head of blonde hair? When
We've been through when you had a beard and when you didn't, when you had hair, when you didn't. I mean, it's just it's astonishing. And but in any event, we're
keeping it up.
We're still going on. We're still having fun doing it. And we still want to welcome callers at 603-640-3091. And tonight we got a really good show for you because we've got two outstanding guests on an issue that's extremely relevant and timely. And in fact, it's just hot right now. We're going to talk about immigration and the alleged but maybe overstated supposed crisis at our southern border with Mexico. And we couldn't have a better pair of guests to discuss this with us. Ava Castillo, who's been a passionate defender of immigrant rights for many years, and Representative Maria Perez, who's the head of the Latino caucus we have in the state of New Hampshire. I didn't know we had such a thing, but I'm glad we do. And thank you both for joining us. And Mike, you want to kick it off with a video or two?
Well, as we did last week, we're going to start by framing the conversation. I found a couple videos, very short, about a minute, a little bit more than a minute, that better than I could explain, kind of frame up the situation. So we'll show the first one, and then we'll come back and digest it a bit, and then we'll go to the second one.
Okay.
What we're going to do right now is walk a block away where the tents are and see where all the other families are settling and see how they are coping with the lifestyle here in Reynosa.
Children under 6 years old, they're allowed to come in if they present themselves to CBP and they get processed. The other families, their only choice is to send the kids by themselves or stay there because they hope the Biden administration is going to start changing this policy.
These are families who don't know what to do. Some of them may end up going back home. Whatever the situation, they don't want to move from there, from that plaza, because they think that's the best bet they have to be able to cross into the United States. They're hopeful that organizations like ours and others will be able to help them beyond this point.
Well, we put that up just to kind of start framing this situation. We'll explain what Title 42 is. I think they talked a little bit about that there. We've got another similar video tells a little bit more about the situation. If you could just indulge us for a minute and take a look at this.
The Biden administration announced that in May it will end a Trump-era policy that made it more difficult for migrants to seek asylum at the border in an effort to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. Title 42 is a policy that was created under the Trump administration in an effort to stop the spread of COVID-19 in border facilities. The Biden administration is rescinding Title 42 because the CDC said that the policy is no longer necessary under today's public health conditions and the increased availability to fight COVID-19. According to the Department of Homeland Security, in fiscal 2021, more than 1 million people were not allowed to seek asylum and were either expelled to Mexico or their home country. There is going to be an increase of people coming to the border to seek asylum. And on top of that, we're already seeing more people come, not just from Latin America, but from Ukraine because of the war. And so it's not just migrants coming from Central America, which was one of the big issues early on in the Biden administration. It's a lot of refugees coming from all over the world. It's not just Republicans who are all in on this policy and are frustrated that it's ending. There are Democrats who are also worried about the increase of migrants coming to the border. The Department of Homeland Security has been preparing for an increase of migrants coming. That's what they're trying to do right now, is to prepare for increases along the border and maybe more remote areas, while also trying to get more agents and just officials down to the regular crossing areas that we traditionally see. They also have this vaccine program that they are administering at the border to vaccinate migrants. So when they come, they can also be vaccinated, and that also helps mitigate, the spread of COVID-19.
Hey, thanks for watching.
There's the information part of the show. I tried to put, there will be more, but this is kind of the basics. This is what we're talking about. I tried to find videos that were kind of straight down the line and just laid out the facts, and now the conversation can begin. But I think first we want to do a nice job of letting our guests introduce themselves.
We would like you both to introduce yourselves. I know we have a first-term state rep here, and Maria, and Ava Castillo is well known to people caring about immigration rights because she's been active on this for many, many years. But tell us a little bit about yourself. Why don't you start, Ava, if you would, and then we'll turn to Maria.
Sure. My name is Eva Castillo. I'm originally from Venezuela. I've been in New Hampshire since 1982. And prior to that, I was in Michigan, where I attended the university, Western University, Michigan University. And I've always done immigration myself. In fact, for a while, I was the only person whose only job was immigration. Thanks to Trump, now we have more people fighting for us. So I have to be grateful for something.
It's an ironic gratitude.
Ironic gratitude, but I'll take whatever it is. That's why I really don't do party politics, because I like to be on the outside fighting.
Yeah. And Maria, would you like to introduce yourself and tell a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Maria, and I was born in El Salvador. I moved here in 1989, and I started my community service and started volunteer with the New Hampshire Family Service. I took the training, 30 hours training, to help incarcerated women, especially from the Latino community, who didn't know how to read or write in their own tongue of language. And I helped them to try to get ready to go back to the society and be part of the society and be able to help their kids after they get out of jail. And that was one of the things that I did on the beginning. And then I started helping at the Red Cross and the St. Joseph and Southern New Hampshire Medical Center. I'm just filing and doing translation. And during the pandemic, for some reason, I saw the necessary. It was necessary for me to get involved more with helping my community. So I decided to run for the first time as a state representative for the District 23 Milford. And I'm grateful for the support of the community. And now I'm working as chair of the Latino Caucus as well. I'm representing the Latinos in New Hampshire, and I want to be the voice for those who don't have one, who don't know how to use it.
So tell us a little bit about the Latino Caucus. I must say I did not know there was such a thing.
Yeah.
And it's New Hampshire's changed an awful lot over the many years I've been here. From the predominantly second language English was French at one time. Mm-hmm. Now it's clearly, obviously, Spanish. And we have a Latino caucus. Tell us about that. And is it just legislative members, or what's it about?
No. To be honest, this is the great thing about the New Hampshire Latino Caucus, because I've been traveling to D.C. where they have National Latino Caucus and they're only legislators on the caucuses. But our caucus in New Hampshire is representation of state representatives and community leaders, because like, for example, Eva, without Eva's voice in that caucus, she's been doing the fight for so long.
Oh, she's a good fighter. We know that.
And she's already said she's not going to be a state representative because that involves party politics.
That's what I'm saying. And we need those voices. And that's one of the reasons that I'm so grateful that Alejandro Urrutia, he's the one who founded the Latino Caucus. And thanks to him, now we have a Latino Caucus. He retired. But, I'm grateful to continue working, doing his work, and then we need more representation for our community.
Yeah. When we talk about immigration, we don't only have a border with Mexico, we have an even longer border with Canada. But most of the interest is on the Mexican border, and we hear so much about it. And have you both been there? Have you been to that border? Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you been there recently? I mean, tell us a little bit about the experience of being at that border and what you were doing.
Not recently, but back 30 plus years ago when I was fighting to protect my life from the war in El Salvador.
Yeah.
That's the reason that I moved here, because I was like, I'm feared of not be able to survive the war in El Salvador.
So did you succeed in claiming asylum and having asylum recognized? Is that the reason? Is that the way you got to be in the United States?
The reason that I got here, my ex-husband brought me here. But to be honest, when I got here, I was like everyone else. I was an illegal immigrant who crossed the border. I crossed the border. I was sexual assault at the border. I got here with one shoe, and the other one was lost, and then they stole all my jewelry. So it wasn't an easy thing for me to get here.
Very tough.
That's why I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here, and for be the voice of those big things who now they struggling to try to survive and try to not to live this an experience that I has to go through just to protect my family.
I am so grateful for you sharing that.
That is a powerful story.
Holy cow. I don't want the show to be about your personal experiences, but boy, does that illustrate and beg for empathy. What is very frustrating for me when we talk about the immigration issue is that some people you talk to don't understand the tremendous sacrifice that's being made just to get to the border. They look
right.
at that as a bad thing, when in fact it is an act of love, of commitment to family, and
compassion.
It really, you have to feel that, or else it's very difficult to have empathy to discuss the situation. But we're here to talk about the big picture. There are two sides to this argument. The argument has not been resolved for decades.
No.
This is not a new problem. In fact, you could argue historically it's gone back. The faces of the people who have been excluded have changed, but there's been exclusion in this country from the very beginning.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yep. That's
So
for sure.
it's an old problem, and some say we've struggled to find a solution. I don't know how hard we've struggled, but we certainly haven't found a solution. And right now we find ourselves in a situation where we, admittedly, that we have Title 42, and there's going to be action taken on it, and the expected party structure and the campaign promises that were made seem to be getting shuffled up. I have a list here of several senators and one congressman who have written to the administration.
Can I just back up?
Sure.
I was thinking, you both have a lot of experience, personal experience. Yours is especially compelling, Maria. I just wanted to ask, do we have a problem with our southern border? Okay. And what would you say the problem is? Because people think we have this horrendous problem at the southern border. What is the problem? And if you can define the problem, then maybe we can talk about what you think the solution is. Is there a problem?
The problem that we have is that the immigration law has been totally outdated since '86. We haven't done anything. All we do is put more and more and more barriers. So we are stopping people rather than making it more streamlined and making it easier to immigrate here. We have just doubled up on enforcement, on putting more barriers, on exclusion, instead of trying to figure out how to do it. And right now, the people that are at the border seeking asylum, this is our doing for closing the borders to them. Asylum is a legal process to immigrate here, and we are the ones that are going against the law by stopping these people from seeking asylum, which is the legal venue for them to come here, and then they have to prove all kinds of things before they're granted asylum, but at least give them a chance to go to court and prove their cases, and we refuse to do that right now.
And that's international law. That's the
That's
conventions
right.
of civilized society.
That's right.
Is that everybody allows this process and puts something in place. Now, our process may not be good, it may not be working well, but you can't stop it. You have to allow it to proceed.
That's right. And another thing is that we market to the rest of the world that we are the beacon of peace and the harbor people, and that you can come to my shores, and that we'll give you safety, and we'll give you equality, and we'll
Give me
give
your
you
tired,
all of
your
that.
huddled masses
That's
yearning
right,
to be
and
free. Yeah.
And we market this to the rest of the world, a huge marketing campaign that thinks that once you come here, you're going to be treated fairly, equally, and all of that. And, I don't want to use expletives on TV, but it is a bunch of baloney.
Yeah, for sure. And I can emphasize with what she's saying, we're spending so much money and we're spending so much time and saying we need to build the wall, we need to put more barriers. Why we don't use the money that we asking and we put in more officers on the border? Why we don't put people who can process the application, make it easier? We don't have enough social workers. We don't have enough people helping the people trying to do the applications of the border. I believe I heard someone saying that it was asylum seeker at the border who speak French, and he was put in jail because they were waiting for a French translator for a while. And this is the things that we're going through. Why we don't use the resources instead of then putting more walls and instead of more barriers. Broke those barriers. Help the people, but utilize it the smart way. Don't utilize it to hurt the people. Don't utilize it to make it harder for the people. That the only thing they're trying to do is do it the right thing. Do it the right way.
Yeah.
Can I kind of untelescope an argument that I've heard a lot? And again, there's subtleties and there's nuance,
Yep.
and certain people have a real hard time dealing with that.
Yep.
We're talking right now about asylum seekers. These are people who may or may not, they
Yep.
feel that they have a reason that's valid under our law to come into this country.
Should we explain what asylum is compared to immigration
Well,
generally?
that's exactly what I'm doing.
Okay. Okay. Because a lot of people I don't think
Yeah,
really
people have
understand.
no
that
clue.
there's a
And
difference
then
here.
on the other side, there are people who are coming in. They may not be fleeing a terrible situation. They may want to visit. They may want to come for education.
Yep.
They may want to come to become a citizen one day. And there are two ways to do that. There is the process way, and I question if that even exists, to be honest with you. And then there's the outside of process way, which is that small piece of it, the people who are coming outside of the process, and I'm trying to use words that are neutral. Those, it's unusual for me.
Uninspected, they're called uninspected.
Okay, well, we'll use that. But that is the focus of the anti-immigration argument, as if everyone is violating the law,
Yep.
and if only they would just obey, everything would be fine. But can we talk a little bit about
Well, let me tell
what
you,
is the legal
the path
way?
to
So-
citizenship, okay?
Yeah.
That the people that came here that are undocumented are roughly 50%. Those are the people that came through the border without inspection.
Uninspected.
The rest of the people, the other 50-some percent, is like 52 or 54%, are people that came here on a tourist visa, on a student visa,
And overstayed.
and overstayed their visas. There is no path to citizenship for those people.
Yeah.
There's no path to, unless you get married, there is absolutely no path to citizenship. So all these families that are waiting, or all these people that came uninspected, unless they get married, or like in the case of the DACA kids, or the TPS, the temporary protective status that is given to certain countries, or the DACA for the dreamers, for the youth that came here as undocumented kids, unless we give them permanency, there's no path for them either.
Yeah.
So there's
So
no
the idea
path.
that there's a
always.
legal way to come here is just a myth.
That's right, and that's why
Doesn't
we need to
exist.
revamp.
I'm very
because
happy we finally were able to get
yeah,
that laid
we
out there, because-
militarize the border. We spend tons of resources on a border, and then we forget to make an easier process, a process that's more streamlined to allow people to come here the legal way. There's no path to citizenship for anybody, and even after you have
Well,
a path,
if
you
you've got
spend
if you got
tons.
enough money, there's a path.
If you have enough money, you get a pass, but very few people have all that kind
I
of
mean,
money.
what is it? $500,000?
Oh
you
yeah,
gotta-
yeah. You
something
have
like
to
that.
invest something ridiculous.
Yeah.
But then after, even if you have a pass, you have to fill out a bunch of requisites. You have to spend thousands of dollars on attorneys. You have to, every little piece of paper that you file costs you $400, $600, $700. So it is very costly once you find that path too. And also with immigration, this is the only legal system where they assume that you're guilty, that you're lying, and it's your job to prove that you're not.
Yeah.
You know, they don't. They, you know, you if you're a criminal, they have to presume that you're innocent, and they have to prove you're guilty. With immigration, it's the exact same thing, the exact opposite, and you're at the mercy of the official that has your case. Because
Yeah.
if they're in a good mood, they're likely to. If they're in a bad mood, forget it, and there's nothing to do.
Sounds like the New Hampshire judicial system, but that,
You want to take our first break, Mike?
yeah, why don't we do that and regroup? This
And,
was a good first segment.
I
think.
hope, folks, you'll call in. This is a great subject with great people to discuss it. 603-640-3091. We'd love to have your comment or question about today's subject. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody, this is going to be our second segment of the Progress Report. We usually, and will tonight, have three. At least that's the plan. And for those of you who may just be joining us, we have two outstanding guests tonight. Eva Castillo, who's been a long-time passionate advocate for the rights of immigrants seeking to enter this country. And Maria Perez, now a member of the Great and General Court, having been elected in Milford for her first term, and who came here many years ago. And they are dealing with the very divisive and controversial issue of what some call a crisis at our southern border. And the issue, what really is that crisis, or is there one, is something we've been a little bit discussing. But now I think we might want to get into the current issue of the day, which has something to do with the, well, we all know what Trump thought about immigrants. He called them.
He wanted to change that story that he broadcast to the world.
Yeah, in his very first campaign outing, he decried the border as being just an open gate to everybody, and he called them rapists, and then he said, well, maybe some of them are good, and since then, that's been a really devastatingly difficult issue. In the face of a national government, particularly our Congress, they could not find a way to deal with comprehensive immigration reform so we could regulate this and find a way to let people come in. And I just wanted to ask you folks this. One of the things I just don't understand is we need people in this country.
That's right.
You know, the death rate is up, the birth rate is down, particularly among the
There are
the
jobs
white
going wanting.
population. We need people to, here in New England, we've always needed
seasonal
people
work, yep.
to pick the apples when we have the apple crop, which is a big part of our economy here. And, crops all over the country. Lots of Americans are not native born Americans.
Hospitality work on Cape Cod.
Hospitality
at Hampton
work.
Beach.
I mean, I saw the other day they're recruiting kids from a Indian reservation in South Dakota to come here and help with the seasonal business in Hampton Beach, on the Lakota Indian reservation. We need people, and yet we're demonizing the people that come here. And Maria, I think you're a grand example of this. The people come here, they're highly motivated people. They want better lives. They want to contribute. The myth that they're coming here to wreak havoc upon us and live off welfare is just a bunch of hokum.
You do not qualify for any type of federal monies until after 5 years after you become a legal permanent resident. So people that are undocumented do not qualify for anything. During the pandemic, when they had to stop working because they all work for a living, they did not qualify for unemployment. They did not qualify for rental assistance. They do not qualify for anything, and that's one of the
That's
false
a really good point,
news
Ava.
that
That's a really good
put
point.
out there, and people really believe.
So if people come here, and I think that people come here, they have to be highly motivated. I mean, it's a tough thing to do, right?
That's what they talk. They talk about the pilgrims. They say that's what makes America great. Is that the people who come here are the motivated ones who don't just take it. They get up and they move because they have that kind of spirit. And it's the same story.
Yeah.
It's the same story. It's just later in
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that I keep repeating is we have so many professionals. We have doctors, we have nurses, we have teachers, we have professionals that they try to leave, they move here because they try to save their lives because they're going through a war or they're going through a tough time in their countries. But when they come here, they have to sweep the floors or be a dishwasher.
They have to be self-sustaining real fast.
No,
Yes.
and they don't give them a chance to
They
get
don't
a
give them a
professional
chance.
job.
They don't give them a chance to work in the profession. We should be able to give them the tools necessary to be able to work in their industry. But we don't do that. We put them on the corner. We put it on in silent, on the shadows.
That's
Yeah.
right.
How did you get? You came here? You have a personal story to tell. You told a little bit. How did you get to? I mean, you're a member of our legislature now. Congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
You don't do it for the money. I certainly know
No,
that.
I don't.
How did you make your way when you first came here? How did you find a way to do it? You had to be pretty motivated to do stuff.
Well, yeah, like I say, to put it in perspective, when I was in El Salvador, the principal of my school, it was killed. And my sister and my friends, we found his body in the girls' bathroom, and it was blood all over the floor. That was like one of the traumatizing experiences a kid can go through. And that's one of the reasons that my parents decided to send me with my ex-husband to protect me from not being killed, because it was one of those difficult times that either you support the terrorists that were like part of the war in El Salvador, or you would get killed. Either you supporting the government or you supporting the guerrillas. That's what we call the guerrillas in El Salvador. And it was difficult to be here. It was difficult to get here, but my motivation is like, when I have a family, when I have kids, I want my kids to know that, it wasn't easy for me to be here. It wasn't easy coming to the country I didn't know the language, I didn't know the culture, but
Really? You didn't speak any English?
No. But one thing that I always promised myself from the point that I got here is I'm going to try my best to learn the language, to be part of the society. So I didn't watch TV in Spanish for longer years because I wanted to be able to be a part of the society, learn the culture, and then be able to take my kids to the doctors and be able to go to the schools without asking for translator to help me. So that's one of the motivations, that was one of the things that motivated me to learn the language and go back to college when both of my kids were in college. When I went back to college and graduate, with one major in 2016 and another major in marketing in 2018. But my motivation is always being to show everyone that we're not here to take advantage. We're here to provide and to help this society to be better.
That's an incredible achievement you did. I'm just really pleased that you shared that with us.
And then in the face of that and thousands and thousands of other stories just like it,
Yeah,
the previous
exactly.
administration was ripping babies from the arms of their mothers, putting them in cages, wrapping them in tinfoil, in order to send a message that this isn't the place to come because this is how we'll treat you. And then we had an election. And we had people running in that election, and immigration was a major issue. It was made that by the other side, who tried to scare people and use it as a wedge issue to drive voters away.
And they succeeded.
They've succeeded in making it a wedge issue, that's
They
for
certainly
sure.
have.
But I don't know about you, but I know I voted for people who I expected to reverse those decisions.
That's right.
And not only reverse them to where they were before, but to improve the situation.
Yep.
Now, I recognize improving the situation is tough, but I'm really expecting the situation to be reversed. And here we are. We have an administration that is prepared to go forward with it, but we have other Democratic legislators, senators, and state and representatives who want to slow it down. I don't know that they're against it, but they're certainly talking about slowing it down. And I wanted to go through the list. I do appreciate the approach you took, Bob, but the grouping is
it's eclectic.
It's crazy. It's you have Senator Chris Coons of Delaware, Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona. These are
Which side are these people on?
That's right.
These are the people who have written to the administration saying, "Do not reverse Title 42."
Keep it like that. Keep it like it is.
You have Kirsten Sinema of Arizona. Okay, and that doesn't surprise me.
That's right.
That doesn't surprise me.
Nope.
Catherine Cortez Masto of Nevada. It's kind of shocking. Joe Manchin, not surprised.
Not surprised.
John Tester of Montana, good Democrat, but he's very conservative. Not surprised. But then, like I said, you have Chris Coons of Delaware. I mean, he's a progressive guy. Mark Kelly of Arizona. Raphael Warnock, the new senator from Georgia, who tipped the Senate to bring it into Democratic favor. It's just, have I forgotten anybody?
Yes.
I believe I may have forgotten Senator Maggie Hassan,
That's right.
who I respect and admire, but she has come out and made that call too.
Yeah,
well, before we get onto that,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, I hope that are watching us, hope there are many watching us, and hope some of you will call. But let's explain what the issue is here. Would you like to do that, Ava? I mean, people hear Title 42. What's Title 42? Why is it there, and why is the...
we had the that's why we had the video.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they just put a temporary stop to the people coming here seeking asylum, and also they used it to automatically deport people. So if you went, the way it works is that you go to a point of inspection and you hand yourself over to the authority and say, hey, I'm seeking asylum. So what they did was they used that to start deporting people. So they deported thousands
Instead
of
of
people.
putting them into the
That's
asylum
right.
system.
Instead of putting them, and then, and the rest of them just stay away.
So it was the legal basis for the
Yep.
immediate deportation
That's right.
as opposed to the later on
That's
after
right.
due process
That's right.
potential deportation.
Yeah, okay. The video did say that, but I think it deserves repeating because...
Yeah, but one of the issues that I can see from Title 42 is we see the difference how asylum seekers from other countries,
Yep.
from Europe or Ukraine or like other countries, and then we see the same thing. Ukrainians of color, they've been left behind. The only people they can apply or they've been living in Ukraine is the people of lighter skin. We seeing that
European
this is
Christian.
European
Of course.
Christian.
Yeah.
And then this is what is happening at the border. The people who's struggling right now is the black and
the brown indigenous. Yep.
individuals who are trying to come in here. For example, Cameroon, Haiti. We're not just talking about Central America. When we're talking about the people of the border, we're talking about everywhere. We have
Well,
people,
can I throw up the example of
Yep.
in Europe, we had a massive wave of Syrian refugees, which was an outrage, and we had a similar wave of. And again, I sympathize with both. It's just it shouldn't be either or. You should have the
That's
same
right.
reaction to a refugee, regardless.
That's right. And you know, the sad reality is that we don't.
Yeah.
You know, and people identify more with somebody that looks like them, I guess. But at the same time, that's not what our country is all about, and that's not what
Yeah.
we tell to the rest of the world that we're about.
Yeah. So obviously, you folks made pretty big news when you said, after long activism on behalf of Democratic candidates, state and federal, that you could no longer support our current congressman seeking re-election, Chris Pappas of Manchester, Maggie Hassan, who's up for a very tough Senate race this year from Exeter, seeking her second term. And it was really quite a shock, and I'm sure they noticed it, that you said you could no longer support these candidates because of the position they took on ending the
Title 42.
Title 42. They would say, well, Title 42 is all about health protection, and we seem to be on the better side of the COVID. I'm not so sure that's really true, given what we're hearing these days. But let's go ahead and let you talk about that, Ava. if you
Well,
want.
we just lifted the mask mandate in the airports. If you can fly in a little plane, you can let people in the border. At least we're in the open. So it's like, okay, we have
Good
a
point.
double
Good point.
standard.
Yeah.
We have a double standard
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
And even with masks, if you're allowing planes coming from
That's right.
other countries,
That's right.
even with a mask,
Yeah.
it's
I know.
it's
So it's like we really do not have a reason to do that, and it really is appalling that the New Hampshire legislators or our representatives in D.C. have used immigration as a bargaining chip or as a tool to earn votes.
Yeah.
That is really shocking.
It's all
really-
politics, in your
It is
opinion.
all politics, and that's why I refuse to do party politics because of that exactly. They make all kinds of promises. Obama promised that he was going to give us immigration reform. We had 8 years of Obama, nothing. We already have 1 year of Biden. He said within the first 100 years, 100 days, he was going to do that. He hasn't done anything. So it's like,
Well,
okay, at
he's
what
got,
point?
he's got a tough Congress to deal with.
I know, but
I
that
can cut him a
but
little slack on that.
but we've had majority. We have presidential, and we have majority on both chambers, and we still haven't had
Yeah, well,
anything. So it's empty
The
promises,
majority isn't enough to do things.
empty
Sorry.
promises, and there's no will. When there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
And they just,
I think that's the issue is having a national will, and it certainly the public officials who have to deal with a lot of issues. It's very easy to kind of zero in on one thing or another, and I want to play a little bit. I want to try to be fair. As far as the issue goes, I think Title 42 should go. So, in the interest of full disclosure, but the arguments being made, and Bob, maybe you can read the parts of the press conferences. I'll summarize. There's no plan in place for what happens afterwards, and politically, that wouldn't be palatable. I did see in the video that we put up that actually there may be something of a plan
There
in
is a
place.
plan,
They are
yeah.
surging people to the border. They're to process the expected people. They have a vaccination protocol that they're going to put in place. So it may not be enough. You can argue that one way or the other. But the argument that I saw from both of the representatives we're talking about, the senator and the representative, are that there's just no plan in place. So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, one of the things that it is like very difficult to understand is the attaching Title 42 that the funding for vaccination. How in the world we go into a crisis? It's not over. We know that we still have, the virus going around, but they attach in Title 42 language. If the people don't support Title 42, it's going to be ending for the funding for COVID vaccine or COVID relief.
Yeah.
How in the world?
It's a reverse poison pill.
Yes, yes. So that's one of the problems that I see. And my other concern is like for years, I got my citizenship in 2007. Since 2007, I've been involved helping local politicians to get elected. I've been working as a volunteer 100 hours a week. Volunteering 100 hours a week is not an easy thing.
Oh, no.
It's not an easy thing. But it hurts to see that Senator Hassan and Representative Papas, they taken that, like all the support that we give them, and then give us a slap in the face. That's like a slap in the face. We have done everything in our power to help them to be where they are.
Yeah.
And now...
I mean, people like you are worth their weight in gold to a political campaign. A lot of people, willing to write a little check or something, but, to actually go out and do the work and make the calls and knock on doors, and help with the mailings, that's invaluable to a candidate. So, it's tremendous.
But where do we go? I'm sure you've reached out. You want to have a conversation. You want to have a discussion and hopefully temper their position. How's that working? Are you sitting with people? Are they talking with you?
This is a very disappointing and very disgraceful time for not for me, but the people who's been putting the time and effort to send a letter to the chair of the Democratic Party and let them know that we resigned from the executive committee. And basically the letter that I got back from that he was too busy, and he was dealing with some personal stuff, and he told me, thank you for everything you have done, and please reach out to me when you can help us to get more Democrats elected.
Yeah.
And that's all I got.
I bet you found that a little bit insulting.
It's insulting.
A little bit.
A lot.
And so that's why respect, why work, and why spend time in something that with people, helping people that don't respect you as a human being, and they don't value, except they use you for their own benefit.
And both Senator Hassan and Congressman Pappas said basically the same thing.
Yeah,
the administration should not revoke Title 22 without developing the plans needed to protect the health and safety of the American people, said Congressman Pappas. This administration should be taking into account all possible impacts as they review their policies, and they should provide Congress with a more definitive plan on how any changes will be implementing after the public health emergency and the national emergency are formally rescinded. We haven't been able to make a plan for what? 30 years?
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't had anything on, immigration improvement. We should have improved our path to legal immigration so that we wouldn't have these issues. And so that just strikes me as a real phony.
Well, I don't know if they're again. I'm going to play. I want to balance it a little bit. I'm going to hang way out here on the outside edge of the discussion. But I don't think they're saying we need to have a congressionally enacted revision to the immigration law. I think what they're saying is, from a political perspective, they need to have some cover. And what they would accept as cover would be an action plan, a funding plan on how to ramp up the response to the anticipated influx.
So what's
as
that?
Opposed to
more border fences, more border guards?
I'm not saying fences. But facilities, judges, administrative judges.
And there's a plan already.
Well, there's a valid point. We need more people to get these asylum claims handled.
Representatives, advocates who can help these people through the process. It's a lot easier to get a hearing done if you have an advocate who knows how to go through the process than to have the judge having to be so careful and with an unrepresented.
Yeah, but the problem here is they criticize the language of Title 42 when that was stated. They negatively say that was wrong, but now because they're trying to get the votes of the people, the moderates, and the independents, now it's okay for them to use the language of Title 42. That's what my problem is.
That's right.
Don't criticize the previous administration and say that was wrong. That's completely wrong, putting kids in the cages and deporting people. But now you're going back and say, oh, that's okay. Why? Because you want more votes? How many extra votes you going to get from tokenizing your community? Because this is tokenizing.
It's not
This
only
is like
tokenizing, it's demonizing us.
Demonizing.
And every single party does it.
Well, I can
in every election.
I can
they
feel the
throw
depth
us
of your
under
feeling.
the bus.
I can
Both
feel it.
parties do it. And we expect that from Republicans, but I seriously did not expect that from Democrats. And if they're not going to help us, at least do not hurt us. You know, I don't expect them to be the champion, especially Maggie Hassan to be the champion for immigration reform, but at least do not hurt us. She went out of her way to do this video and to put it there where Kevin Smith, that's running against her, did the same video like a month prior to that. And then I see my senator doing it, you know, again, using us as tokens, using us as political, I don't know what, tools to win an election. We're talking about human beings. We're not talking about numbers, and that's the problem. They have managed to make us, to dehumanize immigrants. They have managed to just talk about numbers, depersonalize, and that's why it's so important to listen to people. We have begged Maggie Hassan for over 3 years to have a meeting in person, and they have refused. We met with her staffers from DC and Manchester today, in fact, and it was very frustrating. We were very clear that we want to meet with her. If she can meet with everybody and their neighbors, she can meet with us too. She has to stop hiding from us. We're not going to bite her head off, but the same way that they look at us to help them get votes, they're representing me too. And I am a constituent. So if they don't respect me as a constituent or my community as constituents, we are not going to do anything for them, and we're just going to sit home and not go to vote.
Well, let's look at the calculation, okay? If I may, Bob, I don't want to step on your toes, but let's look at the calculation, okay? I'm running for office. I don't believe that either of the two people we're talking about really think that by taking this position, they're going to get any Republican votes. I mean, if they think so, that's a pipe dream and a half.
Yep.
They're not going to get Republican votes. So they must be playing to the middle. They're trying to look moderate.
Yep.
Elections, you know the phrase, don't compare me to the Almighty, compare me to my opponent. When you have an election where you have a known quantity that has disappointed you versus a known quantity that will disappoint you 100 times more, what do you do?
And that's the problem. They always count on us for voting for the lesser of two evils, but
That's
evil
it.
is still evil, regardless of,
that's the
So
sense that I'm
between
asking
a rock
the
and
question.
a hard place.
you know?
And now, at this point, to tell you the truth, and I'm sick and tired of voting not for the person that is going to represent me, but against the person that I know is going to hurt me. Now, they put me in a position where I'm just going to leave it blank.
You know, it's
I mean,
a thing that
what's the
always
difference?
It's a thing they always say, vote blue no matter who. At this point, even though that I'm a Democrat, you know, I run as a Democrat, I wish we can have more than just two parties, and we can represent the people without being like
So partisan.
boxing in this little world that we can't represent the people that, you know, they have some radical ideas, and then we have, you know, we have to stick with the two parties, and to be honest, it's very very sad to hear that another caucus tried to send a statement to Senator Hassan and members of leadership from New Hampshire party call these caucuses members and ask them not to sign the statement against Senator Hassan. So that means shutting their voices up.
Well, I mean, there are two kinds of Democrats in New Hampshire. My kind and Bob's kind. And
We do occasionally disagree.
Bob's kind holds sway. Right?
Oh my God, Mike.
No, but there has been, you know, I've been to the meetings, you've been to the meetings. Ava, you may not have been to
I
the
have
meetings,
no
but
interest whatsoever.
You know, there are progressives who believe in the democratic ideal, and then there are Democrats who believe in the democratic ideal but don't think it can sell. And that's the conflict.
So how do we know whose side people are on? How do we know if they're going to keep compromising their beliefs, or we don't even know what the beliefs are because they're just talking points in an election? How do I really know what a person is standing for if they're just going to use talking points and they're never going to take a stance because it's not going to be popular, it's going to affect their constituents'
But
vote?
I'm just gonna like bring it back to the reality in New Hampshire. I was at the State House, and one of my colleagues was at the labor committee. They were dealing with some labor shortage. A lot of businesses came in and testified that it's a huge labor shortage in New Hampshire.
Yep. Sure, that's true.
We have the tools in our hands. We have everything that we need in our hands. But we're rejecting to make it possible to get more visas, to get more people here the legal way,
Yeah.
the right way.
That's the thing I don't understand at all. I mean, I don't understand why that argument doesn't work. I mean, that should appeal to the business interests. That should appeal to, people that are otherwise conservative. We want to be able to make this economy work, and we desperately need workers. We got to have workforce housing. That's another huge issue which we've discussed. But we need the workers here, and we're not getting them. We are the second oldest state in the nation demographically. Deaths outnumber births, and we just need people to come here, and they're not doing it through people marrying later, having fewer children, and so I don't just understand this at all. I mean, how do you think we move forward? You're done with Chris and Maggie Hassett.
See, I'm not even going to accept that. There's got to be a way that you can come to the table, and work together. For this purpose, you will have no one will listen to you on the other side.
But how can we compromise? How can we work together when they don't even take 5 minutes of the time? I called Papa's office last week and I explained the office, our position, and what are we asking from them. Take the names out of that bill. Take the names. Support the community.
Yeah.
No, they're not taking the time. I haven't even get a call back from his office say thank you for calling, and we're going to talk to Papa's to see.
And when did his family come here from Greece?
Well, you were telling your story about how you wanted to learn English, and it reminded me of my father. My father was born here in Manchester, of immigrant parents, and my grandmother didn't send my father to St. Marie's, the French school. She sent my father to St. Patrick's.
Oh, yeah.
So he would learn English so that he could move
off
the west side, basically. In those days, that's
graduate to the
and
side.
it's the same story.
That's right. But people have short-term memories.
How long did it take you to learn English when you got here? I mean, that's impressive.
Well, I have a speech problem because I was born with tongue-tied, so it's more difficult, and then a lot of times the words don't come out correctly even now. But it's one of those things that like I keep repeating the words, and I'm so grateful. I used to work for a company, a manufacturing connector company in South Nashua, and I used to ask my coworkers, please tell me if I'm saying it wrong, please can you help me. If I'm saying something wrong, can you write it down? Can you tell me how to say it? And I'm grateful for Adult Learning Center. I went to Adult Learning Center
It's a great
twice.
place.
I graduated.
What center?
The Adult Learning Center in
Adult
Nashua.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yes, I got it.
I
Okay.
went to the Adult Learning
It's a
Center.
great place.
I went twice, and then I was already graduated from high school when I moved here from El Salvador. But I went back and took my GED just to like learn more math and more English, how to read, how to write. So I went to the school just to like get my basic, and I signed to go to college.
Yeah. And do you have children?
Yeah. I have a daughter, and she's 29. I work 100 hours a week when she was ready to go to college, so she didn't have a student loan, so she didn't ask for any help. So she went to school for nursing, and then after she went to school for nursing, she decided she didn't want to be a nurse. So she went back to college and studied business. I have my son, he's 27, he's an electrical contractor, and he worked for a business, and he have his own business. So, and he, my daughter has her house, my son, he already have his house. So I'm grateful for the opportunity, because I see my kids, my son have his own business, and my daughter working in the corporate world. What else can I ask? I'm grateful for everything that this country have given me.
Yeah, this country did well by you. Well, I want to do well for others like you.
Yeah.
Well, and but the contribution, no one took
Phenomenal.
anything. It was an investment on both sides with a good result.
Yeah. Well, folks, I thought we'd get on to another subject entirely, which Ava's worked on a long time, which is the whole issue of ICE enforcement and the deportations.
I knew we wouldn't get there, Bob. The hour runs too fast.
You want to say a little bit about that? We got just a few minutes left, but I really, really have appreciated you both being here, and I appreciate your passion and commitment. And your story is just wonderful, Maria. I'm so glad you got to tell it to us. But
Well, the sad truth is that as long as we have the laws that are so, enforcement focused, people are going to continue being deported. And it's not, again, numbers. It's a reality that our families are being separated. The kids that stay here, that we had a very public case here that was, he was deported 3 years ago. 2 U.S. citizen children. The boy was 11, the girl was like 9 years old. Now the girl weighs like 350 pounds. She's severely depressed. The boy has tried to commit suicide. He's, kids lose the father, and there's nothing they can do.
It's just horrible.
It is horrible for them. Their school, they're really having a hard time. And this is just one case. So I want people to think that these are real human lives that we're affecting. This is not numbers or cattle. It really infuriates me when I see the ads in the TV with the little dog. It's poor dog. $5 a day will help. Poor dogs. But at the same time, we're putting kids in cages and separating them from their father, and that's
too
okay.
many of us accept it.
That's right. Too many of them accept it.
Yeah.
So, and then how people compartmentalize their compassion. And even I work a lot with faith communities, even though I don't have any faith. No, I don't have a religion, let's put it that way. And I see how they make, my faith applies to you, but not to you.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I just done with such hypocrisy. I don't know. I'm so frustrated that I don't know. But I'm gonna keep moving forward, like the song
That's
says.
the way I want to end the show.
Absolutely.
At least to turn,
And I'm sure you
something
are too,
positive.
Maria. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just really, really blown away by your story. I'm so glad you got to tell it to us and be a member of our great and general court. I
Well,
just think it's
another hour
outstanding.
comes to an end. We've run
Really,
out of
really
time.
outstanding hour, folks. I'm sorry we didn't get any calls. Sometimes it just happens, but the show will re-air several times, and I think we'll get some feedback. And I want to thank
you
you
will.
both for what you're doing.
Or
and,
we'll get it.
we couldn't stop Ava if we wanted to, and I think it's probably
don't
true
want
of
to.
Maria too. We don't want to. But this has
Keep up
been
the
a
good work.
terrific hour, and really, really appreciate what you're doing, and I hope this will help a little bit, because it's really been terrific. Okay, folks, that's it.
Be back next week.
Yeah, we will, won't we?
We will.
Yeah, it's the 27th. Yeah, okay. All right, everybody. Enjoy this nice day. It was nice to see the